Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the EmeraldPlanet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the EmeraldPlanet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello and welcome to the EmeraldPlanet as we come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, and products that are making a difference as we go through the 21st century. And of course, how we're really going to address the many issues as we add 2 billion new people to the planet by 2050 is to have the type of leadership that we need that takes the resources we have, figures out how to invent and develop technologies that's going to enhance and actually catapult the resources into something new and different and exciting, and at the same time to increase the quality of life. I have a gentleman who is sitting right beside me, has a former military background, and we're going to be talking about the various military branches of service. And many people don't know that the largest humanitarian organization on the planet is the United States military, all 5 branches. This gentleman sitting right beside me is retired Lieutenant Colonel from the U.S. Air Force. Also, he is a volunteer in what's called the 4th Service Platoon, which we're going to find out what that's all about. And his name is Oscar Vaughn. Oscar, welcome back to the EmeraldPlanet.
Thank you, Dr. Sam. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you with us. Tell us a little bit about what the organization you're with, the Mission Continues. What is that and why that particular name?
The Mission Continues is an organization that was started by the current governor of Missouri, Eric Greitens, about a decade ago. Mm-hmm. And it was a organization designed to do 2 things. One was to give back to local communities, as well as allow transitioning military members, whether they're retired like me or folks coming right off of active duty that were not retired, a chance to kind of give back to the local communities, and then also to find a kind of a general purpose. Mm-hmm. If you're a military member, you learn how to do things via a mission. Everything you do is an operation or a mission, at least in my world it was. So everything had a kind of a beginning and end, a middle and an end. So with the Mission Continues, we allow veterans and people who are not veterans but just want to serve a chance to do service projects in the local community that will benefit the local community, but the goal is to allow the community to then take on these service projects and continue them on into the future. And also, when you do that, you allow communities to build resiliency and self-reliance as well.
And the whole thing about this, when we talk about resiliency, self-reliance, but really sustainability,
absolutely,
is to structure it so that the communities, themselves, can actually maintain this and go forward in the future. So when you're looking for projects, what kind of projects do you look for? And do you factor in sustainability, resiliency, quality in the very beginning, or is that something you actually add into the mix as you get into the project itself?
Primarily when the organization and each of our larger cities have what's called a city impact manager, and they also have an executive director. Mm-hmm. We have an executive director here.
Meaning Washington, D.C. area.
Absolutely, Washington, D.C., and Marianne Bergerman, and she is our executive director, mm-hmm. and Connor Mallon is our city impact manager. Mm-hmm. They look for those projects that will essentially basically give us more bang for the buck. We do a lot of sustainability, green initiative type projects, but we also do things that are just good for the community as well. We do a lot of mentoring in schools and in other places, I guess, other entities within Washington, D.C. We primarily focus in Southeast D.C., home for me. So a lot of things that we do have a lot of local impact. They do provide valuable service, and then we also allow, or we encourage, members of the community to come out and participate, because if they participate, chances are they'll carry on long after we've gone.
Yeah, and the whole thing too is to have buy-in from the community, so it's not something you're just imposing on the community, or you think, oh, this is really great for this community, and the community says, I'd like to do these 5 other things. So how do you balance out what you perceive as needed in the community versus what the community says, this is what we really need?
Well, we listen to the community leaders. We try to work within their constraints, their time, their resources. A lot of them are resource constrained from both people and money. So we try to work within what they're asking for and what they need. We also do a lot of on-the-ground work where we go in and do our research, do our homework, make sure that the thing that we're trying to do, the project actually is worthwhile and it will benefit the local community. We also try to do things that are sustainable, you know, for the future. If you can't, you know, it doesn't do any good to build the Taj Mahal if they can't afford the electricity when they're done. So we try to do things that can be sustained over time with the resources that the community can provide, and also that things that can maybe grow in stature and over time, and they can build upon for, you know, for later.
Now you're looking out to people to actually sponsor, underwrite the activities that are going on. So it's not only other NGOs, non-governmental organizations or nonprofits, but you look at private businesses
Absolutely.
to come in, the schools, local governments and all that. So when you're looking at the projects that you want to do, how do you determine what may be the best target as far as where to gather the resources? Or is it a combination of all the ones I just mentioned and maybe others that would be involved in these types of projects?
Well, I know we have several large business partners, corporate sponsors in and around the local area and also nationwide. Our national headquarters is in St. Louis, Missouri, and they have great relationships with a lot of you know, large businesses. We have a lot of defense contractors. We also have a very good working relationship with Home Depot, for example. Tool Bank, which is an organization nationwide, provides a lot of our tools for a lot of our larger projects. And when we do what's called mass deployments in the summer, we tend to use Tool Bank because they can provide a large number of tools that we don't have to purchase. We can rent them. Right. Home Depot gives us great deals, allows us to do to go and get the materials we need to really do the larger scale projects that we do, and allows us to really go out and do some, you know, really effective projects. You know, we're not, you know, creating things as we go, although, you know, contingencies do come up. We've got some folks who are great at contingencies, so if you're missing a tool or a piece of wood or something else, there are folks who can kind of make that out of other things. And so we kind of, we're very good at improvising, adapting, and overcoming.
Now looking at this photograph here, normally we don't really comment on photos, but this I was really impressed with when you shared this with me. Tell us the mix of people that will be in this, the types of skills that they have, maybe the MOS, Military Occupational Specialties. Okay. And how does all this come together? I know you're military, but in this picture, there's probably a number of different branches of the military. So does the Navy and the Marines talk to the Army and Air Force and Coast Guard, or how does all that work? Well,
we encourage the other branches to speak to each other. You know, that doesn't happen on a day-to-day basis sometimes.
So Air Force, of course, is going to be the leader as far as you're concerned.
Absolutely.
But we have many others here.
Yeah, we speak in complete sentences, so it does help. But what you see in that picture is a conglomeration of our folks. If I'm looking at the right picture, it is at Henley Elementary School in Southeast DC. That was a project that was done by E.J. Del Perro, who was on the show last time, and that was one that was done by 5th Platoon. And we worked with the school to try to do two things, actually. This was a very unique project. We did work around the school. We rebuilt some things on the property. We put in mulch. We did some cleanup. Did some other things in the back, got rid of some dead trees and stuff like that, and then we did some things inside the school as well. We had Rose Farah, who was also on your first show. She was in charge of doing some unique painting projects inside the school. So we had folks inside and outside the school. But the other part of that, in addition to the normal project, we were working with the community. In that part of Southeast, you have several different types of how can I put this? You have lots of different types of activities going on around the school, not all of them good. And you have a situation where you have one part of the community which is essentially in conflict with another part of the community.
Okay.
And the unfortunate piece of that is their kids all go to the same school. So kids are kind of having a different message as to, you know, what's good and what's bad. So the school is really trying to bring the community together, bring the parents on both sides of the conflict together, and really see through their kids that you really can live in a more harmonious society. So we actually had quite a few of the parents come out and participate in this particular project. So a lot of the folks that you see in that particular, in the first photo, are parents of the kids in school.
And the whole thing about that too, you're talking about, Oscar, is that you're reaching the children in order to get to the parents.
Absolutely,
And
it's
this
probably
is
the best
part
way
of the
to do
plan.
it.
Yeah, absolutely, because if the children do it, regardless of the background or what they think what's going on in the community, usually they're going to come out and support it.
Yeah,
And so that's what you're saying.
And the kids come out and they see what we're doing, and they see that we're trying to do something good for their school. It's their school.
Right.
And the administrators were there, the principal was there, the school counselors and a lot of teachers were there. So the other part of that was, in that picture, there was also a very large flagpole, which you probably couldn't really see in that picture. When we got there, there was an old flag. It had been kind of torn and beaten up and ripped, and it was stuck at the very top of the flagpole. And it was probably 75 feet, this flagpole.
goodness, right.
So we called our friends at the fire department, and they were able to come out, use one of their ladder trucks, help us get the flag down, and then we went and purchased another flag and unfurled it, and then we had a flag raising ceremony at the end of our day. So it was actually a very cool day.
That's absolutely fantastic. So actually you had 3 or 4 different activities going on simultaneously.
Absolutely.
A little bit on the citizenship and public responsibility, as well as the actual work activities.
And a lot of our projects are just like that. We encourage folks to bring their kids, bring their spouses, bring their significant others, bring your friends and from work, so that they can kind of see that, you know, being a part of the being a part of our American fabric is just not, you know, you spend your work days working all the time, and then your weekends trying to catch up from the things you didn't get done Monday through Friday. So it really does allow more community interaction.
That's absolutely fantastic. Well, we've run out of time. Every time we're together, we never seem to have enough time to finish
I'm sorry,
everything.
I really talked too much.
No, that's okay. Go for it. What do you see for the expansion of the Mission Continues, say in Southeast Washington, D.C. over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Well,
we've got to be quick.
Oh, so we're really working with a lot of different organizations. We're working with a couple of charter schools now, and several other organizations to get, you know, better projects for the future.
That's absolutely fantastic. This is Oscar Vaughn. He's a retired Lieutenant Colonel out of the United States Air Force, volunteer in the 4th Service Platoon of the Mission Continues, has his own business as well. And thank you, dear viewer, for being with us as we look at the Mission Continues as we create the Emerald Planet.
Can we get strawberries? Okay.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you, as we say, looking for the best of the best all across the globe. In 144 different nations, what are the solutions that we can find? The Emerald Planet TV is all about the solutions, solving problems, and bringing together the resources that are needed regardless of how large or how small and where communities may be located around the globe. And looking at all these different communities, how do we provide, yes, the people that are paid within these communities to provide the basic services that are needed, but also America is based on the spirit and the reality of volunteerism. And there's just thousands, millions of people actually that are involved on a year-to-year basis and actually giving tens of millions of dollars every year. Last year was about $258 million that were donated just for volunteer efforts, both here and abroad. That is real money. And I have a gentleman sitting right beside me because we're really focused on the U.S. military, its various branches, and how that the people that come out of these various branches of the U.S. military actually go back into the communities and continue to give way beyond their paid service. And one of those is an outstanding young friend that I've met a couple of months ago, Oscar Vaughn, retired lieutenant colonel out of the U.S. Air Force, a volunteer with the 4th Service Platoon, and very active in Southeast Washington, D.C., here in the good old United States. And Oscar, welcome back to the Emerald Planet.
Thank you, Dr. Sam. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you with us. Say, this bridge, the connection between what you learned, your service in the U.S. Air Force, and thank you for your service to the people and the nation of the United States. How does that really relate to the mission continues? Why was it important for you to spend all these years, and I know it was more than 2 or 3, because you told me, and yet you get out and within a couple of weeks you're already volunteering and going back into the community almost like you never left the military. Why that?
Well, I can only say from my standpoint, it wasn't quite that quickly. I think most folks, when they get out of the military, for lack of a better term, they're still looking for a way to still serve. Mm-hmm. We leave the military for various reasons. Either you are, in my instance, you're at your limit, and Uncle Sam says, thank you for your service, but now you need to go home and do something else, which is what happened with me. Or other people have to leave because they're medically retired because of injury, or they chose to leave to do something else with their lives, and that's fine. But you still have that sense. The military does instill within you a sense of both purpose and a sense of service to the community at large, and that includes the world at large, but also the community you live in. So that's where a lot of folks really want to come out and do some other good things, especially where they live. And
yeah, well, you talk about that. I mean, the mission continues. I mean, that really is almost a summary of what the United States military is all about. It's about mission. Get a team together, train them properly, give them the resources they need, and send them into whatever that may be. It could be into battle, it could be in humanitarian work like we do all over the planet. But as far as the mission is concerned, why have missions within local communities when we have government agencies, we've got other nonprofits, and all of a sudden we've got this military group out there that's doing fantastic things? But what was the gap between the government, NGOs already existing here, and actually the community itself being able to, or not taking care of itself?
Well, the local government, the federal government, state governments, they do their best. But there are always gaps and always causes and people that fall between those gaps. Mm-hmm. So we try to fill in those gaps with the work that we do, and also with the projects that we pick. So in a lot of respects, the NGOs, both the local and international, and the national NGOs,
non-governmental organizations,
yes, non-governmental organizations, yes, are there, and they have specific specific purposes. I work with one of my other passions is advocacy for the homeless who have both mental health and substance abuse issues. That's really a niche.
And many of those actually come out of the military, I understand.
A lot of them actually do come out of the military. Right. So that's one of the reasons I got involved, because as a vet, I've suffered through all of that. So you understand that there is always a need. And sometimes the state, federal, and local governments can't fulfill that need. You know, a lot of it's funding.
Or they may not even know it's there.
They may know it's there, but in a lot of respects they don't, and it's maybe not something that's in their face all the time. It can be hidden. You have members of their community that suffer from a lot of different things, whether it be autism or another type of mental illness or physical illness. And so a lot of these organizations and nonprofits are designed to really meet those needs. We our organization, the mission continues, we really work with communities to really build that self-reliance and that resiliency that many communities need in order to prosper, and also to kind of beat back those bad forces, right? So if you're a concerned parent, you really want the best for your child, but maybe your local community has things that you're not too crazy about, or things you'd like to fix. So that's how a lot of these grassroots organizations begin. Is they see someone sees a need and they try to fill that need, and so that's what the mission continues tries to do.
Now, looking at that, you're really raising intriguing ideas that you have these gaps. There's people in the community. You've got the government agencies, even including first responders, the police, the fire, and all that. They're in local communities. You got the NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and yet you have this. The mission continues, the military. And it seems to me, just based on what you're saying, is that maybe because of the high respect and esteem that most people have in the United States for the U.S. military, is that you, meaning the people that are coming out of the military and going back in the communities, have a special standing and can be the honest broker between all these disparate groups that maybe the ones that have been there for a long period of time can't do. Do you see that, you sense that, or have people actually articulated that to you that, yeah, by your military background, we realize you have some special skills and aptitudes that really could be helpful to us?
I think anybody who serves, especially now, because we are we're in all volunteer service, so you go in for a specific reason. Most people, I can't say everyone, but everyone I've met goes in because they are driven to do things that you can't normally do in normal society.
So they're pre-selected almost, I think, to do something different and unique and to go away to do things, because you're going out of the community, right?
Yeah, but I think it's more of a self-selection. I know why I joined the military. Yeah. I wanted to do things that I couldn't do at home, and I think I had a larger sense of my world community. I wanted to be a part of it, and frankly, I wanted to help take care of it. That's why I came in. So I would think that most folks that come into the military today, that's their #1 goal. They want to do something that you can't do at home, but you can also kind of translate those skills when you come back. But we have always been the world's police force for as long as I've been alive, and part of that great responsibility is you have to be able to understand your role in the world as being that to me, that honest arbiter.
Yeah,
that
and that's what broker. I call that, the honest broker.
And so being an honest broker, at least from a military standpoint, men and women in the military have great integrity. I can say that without hesitation. Every service has their own motto. They have their own core values. All of them kind of surface around the same thing. They believe in integrity, believe in respect, excellence. So there are things that there's common values and themes that each military member brings to the table when they come to an organization like the Mission Continues. Everyone by default is there for a higher purpose. So you piggyback on that, and so your projects and the things that you do are all there to build that higher purpose and to create that sense of well-being and that sense of duty within your local community.
Yeah, and the camaraderie is just like this photograph here, and I'm going to stop on this for a minute. I mean, literally you've got 5 people, so this could be literally 5 different branches of the U.S. military in this photograph. I don't believe it is. But the whole thing about it is that you're getting people that have been out of the military, whatever their background was while they were there, and all of a sudden they show up on a Saturday morning or a Friday afternoon, and they just fall to work. And it's a way, again, it goes back to this mission, is that, okay, what's our mission? Okay, we got to plant a garden, or we're going to paint the schoolroom, or we're going to help, tutor children, or we're going out in the community and, whatever it is. And they just fall into it. I mean, that's what's amazing about this organization. The mission continues.
Well, I've been trying to get you to come to one of our projects so you can actually see these great
Well, I
folks.
keep telling you to call me as you say you're going to and say, show up.
I will make sure we get you to the next one. But the goal, when you have these folks that come together like this, you really do take, no one wears rank. No one is, the boss of anyone. Everybody comes together as a group, and you pick a leader, and that leader is the one that's designed to make sure that whatever aspect of the job that has to be done that day gets done. Yeah. So that's what we do in the military. We teach folks, rule 1, follow the leader. Yeah. Rule 2 is if you have questions with anything else, follow rule 1. So normally when we have projects like this, you have someone who, is in charge of an aspect of the project or the overall project, and they have a goal, they have a mission, they have a project mission, and so they break it down into different things that need to be done, and you just break your teams up and they get things done. And normally we are very good at doing those things because that's really what the military does. We're very good at beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, well, I came through 4-H, and that's, the really only federally mandated educational program for children, and that's why I know about, you reach the kids and then you go up to the adults. But you see that in this photograph right here, again, is that people just get together no matter what it is. You all go out and contribute your skills, sweat together, have a good time, and then spirit de corps. That's really what it's all about. Well, we're running out of time. So looking at all this, what do you see for the mission continues, not only just for Southwest Washington, D.C., but actually for the United States, because you have these service platoons all over the country, and they're actually spreading. So why is it spreading? And then secondly, what do you see for the future, 5, 10, 15 years?
Well, we have 80 active platoons nationwide, and each of them has their own local, their own local bend, right? So they have their own local projects that they're in charge of. But by and large, we're there to help those that are in our local communities. That we see needs, we have things that we know that are going on within our community, and our goal is to really help our communities, prosper and grow. Yeah. And really that's what I think the overall goal of the mission continues. And many of the other veteran influenced organizations, we're there to help. So we're not there for fame and glory, because that's not really the reason you go in the military. We're there to help.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Oscar Vaughn, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Air Force, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful job. Volunteer the 4th Service Platoon, and as the mission continues, I love the work you're doing. I like your enthusiasm and your knowledge about all this. And thank you, dear viewer, for being with us as we look around the globe.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation.
You're resigning. Why? You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
Oh, I forgot. I'll do better. Please don't quit on me.
Don't let your heart quit on you. Get your uncontrolled high blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Brown bag your lunch instead of going out. $6 save times 5 days a week times 10 years is $21,000. That's a lot of lettuce. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
I did. Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls. But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Did you know that strollers have the right of way on the sidewalk?
Yes.
Yep, I did. Did you guys
Did you know that kids who eat breakfast have higher GPAs?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's actually what I was going to say.
Did you know babies should never touch silver? It's really bad for them.
I knew that.
Did you guys know that statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat at the right.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States, as we're looking around the globe for those what we call the best of the best practices, the solutions, the things that are actually making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we move through the 21st century, how do we find all those resources that we need that's going to be able to provide an increased quality of life for a planet that should, by 2050, have about 9 billion people. Yes, 9 billion people. That's a lot of folks on planet Earth. And by the end of this century, maybe we'll have 12 to 15 billion people. So what are we going to do with all those folks, and how are we going to provide the basic infrastructure in the local communities? And I have a gentleman sitting right beside me who comes out. He was in the United States Marines, and now he's in what's called the 5th Service Platoon as its leader, and it's among what's called the Mission Continues. And this is Quentin Coffett, and Quentin, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. And as a Marine, thank you for the service to not only the country, but also to all the public that really needed you to protect us, take good care of us. And now you're continuing in what's called the Mission Continues. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Glad to have you here. Quentin, tell us a little bit about what is the Mission Continues from your perspective, and why do you think it's so important? You were in the Marines, you came out, and within a short period of time, you're now involved in volunteer activities within a local community in Washington, D.C. Why?
Why? That's a real loaded question.
It's very much so.
So the Mission Continues, as far as I understand, was started by Eric Greitens, as Oscar explained earlier. It was a way to engage wounded veterans and whatnot to come through, and to kind of pull them out of the slump they may have been at the time with their injuries and whatnot, where they were in their life, to try to ask them, okay, this happened to you, so now what? What are you going to do? And so that's what it grew from, and that's what it is today. It's that it's gone from just a few service members in its first year to what it is now. It's a national organization with multiple platoons in every major city across the nation, coming together to try to create positive impact and maximize that impact in the community, and bring veterans together and give them a sense of purpose and a higher purpose.
Yeah. Well, you have the Mission Continues, which I think is absolutely a fantastic name for that, because once you come out of the military, whether you're a leaving service member or you're retiring as an officer or whatever rank you may be, or you may be even in the reserves, is that you can never give up on community, and we always need to be sure that we're giving back to community if we want to have the very best. But why the name Platoon? What is a platoon? Because most of the people watching our television program here and abroad, even though it's a vague concept, what is it, 1/2% of the American population actually,
something like that,
actually goes into the military these days? What's a platoon, and why to use that jargon for this community service activity?
Well, a platoon, the jargon, of course, it's familiar for the veterans themselves, so they'll kind of understand about what that means. So a platoon itself is usually about 30 or so members of the organization that work together, and they're broken down into squads, and the squads themselves are broken down into teams. And so it's a way to kind of form a hierarchy in the way things are accomplished, where the team reports.
Just like the military, in other words, you're just trying to make something that's very familiar for them to be able to fit into.
Right. And most of our projects, they're about 30 to 40 people at each project that we do. So it fits to call it a platoon.
Yeah. Now, looking at people coming, you're U.S. Marines, of course, all 5 branches are represented as far as the Mission Continues. What is it about the structure that you talked about wounded vets, and I've worked actually with a number of them over the years. What is it about that really gives them a comfort, whether it's emotional or mental issues or physical, that allows them then to be very productive in the community through these service activities?
That's a very good question. And I can't answer for everybody. I can't say what everybody gets out of this, because everybody comes to this to find something.
If it's a million people, it's a million different answers.
Exactly. You might get 1,000,001. Anyway, so I think it's familiar. They come in, they see the structure that they get, and then we're around our fellow service fellow service members. We get re-immersed back in the culture that we left behind when we left the military, and that feels good. It's nice to be around people that you can say the little culture items and the things that we'll understand, the inside jokes and whatnot. And it's nice to reform that connection. And so the other thing too is we talked about wounded vets here. They're accepted and even celebrated for coming out and being here with us and doing what they do. So that, I'm sure, in itself is going to bring a lot of comfort when they come from wherever they are in society. They may feel like a burden, whereas when they come to us, they're an asset.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. And it's just like having all these faces here and people together. How important is that camaraderie? And I assume this is one of the things that you have. You come out, you actually have a common mission. You're going to the community, whatever that service project may be. But at the same time, you're going across all these different agencies, within the United States military, but people just fit together. You have similar training, similar goals, similar objectives. And so if you have someone, say it's Coast Guard, you've got the Marines with you, Air Force, Army, remember I left out the Navy in this whole thing because you're part of that. How do they all fit together? What's the commonality of that when you get to the core of what the military is about, and then the mission continues and what it's all about?
The desire to serve. It's plain and simple.
Say that again. I like that.
The desire to serve.
Okay. So that's the common thread through this whole thing.
Exactly. That's what leads people to join the military in the beginning. A lot of us that we're ready to play what William James called the blood tax. And so you get that basic characteristic of people that's who volunteers to serve in the military, and then once they leave the military, they come back to the mission continues, or some of our other veteran service organizations where they want to continue to serve and bring that impact.
Yeah, and looking at this, of course, these are people of the same organization. They're in civilian uniform. So when you take off the military uniform, you've gone through this process, and then you step out that door, and you're coming now into the civilian world. Is there that much of a difference, or is it the fact is it's a great deal of difference that most of society really doesn't understand, and we need that transition? What do you think, Q?
Again, it's different for everybody. I tell people that I didn't have a hard time transitioning back to the military until I started working for them as a civilian, or coming back to civilian life. Yeah, so I mean, there are a lot of differences. There's a lot of cultural differences and whatnot, and then of course there's the common shared experiences that we have that kind of bring us together as well. Again,
what would be some of those, the common shared experiences that you would have that allows that transition by using something like the mission continues, that really eases that way back into society? Because you're really leaving, in some ways, a very structured, a very protected environment, and you're going into something that's almost rough and tumble and free for all. It's kind of hard to believe that civilian life would be that way versus the military, but in many ways it really is.
Well, so I mean, one of the things that almost always comes up eventually between us is we'll tell stories about some of our early military careers where we're what we call the boot or the PFC, the private, whatnot, where your life is made miserable, and you have a bunch of other people around you that are just miserable, and you all connect on that level, and you can all talk about the things that have happened throughout the day and whatnot, and just some of the stuff that you've had to do and endure together, and that comes up a lot with the mission continues as well. And the thing I think too is that when a lot of us go out and we leave the military and we get to the civilian world and we start working with some of our colleagues, they don't have those same experiences, and so it's
so there's not something that's not shared there like you would have with brethren that no matter what branch of the military they're in, there's still a commonality there.
Right. We've always got that.
Looking at the projects, what's 2 or 3 projects that you've been involved with? Because you're the 5th Service Platoon. That's a big deal. And I'm going to ask you about why would you volunteer to do that after getting out of the military. But what would be 2 or 3 projects you've been involved in that really just touched you, or you felt was so important that this is something that the mission continues really does need to be doing this?
So we just, the 5th Service Platoon, we focus on urban agriculture and sustainable food access. That's really what we're into.
Eliminating the food deserts, right?
Food deserts,
Exactly.
correct. Like, so right here in DC, Ward 7 and 8. That's where we like to focus. So one of my first projects when EJ was leading 5th Platoon, EJ Del Perro, was at the Washington Youth Garden. They've got, it's in the National Arboretum, and it's this nice little pocket where they have this garden and they have all their produce and everything, and they use the food cycle to help teach sustainability and environmental responsibility, and just science education and everything else. And one of the first projects I went to was I went there with I took my family there, and we weeded the gardens for them and everything else. And we had a great time, and the kids went and they played, they climbed trees, they did their thing. And then just last month on the 28th, I held my first service project as platoon leader at the Washington Youth Garden. And we came in and we did an overhaul for them where we took out some stairs. We made their stairs a lot better because I guess the kids were falling off the stage that they had there. And so
my goodness.
We made that longer. We really did some arbors for them, and we killed off some crabgrass for them. We did a bunch of things. We completely overhauled their outdoor classroom. And so that really stuck with me.
Yeah, but these are really important things, and although it sounds like something is very simple and why do we worry about it, it's really those day-to-day things, those very simple things that actually have the most profound impact on youth, and then if it's on the youth, then it's for their extended families. So we're almost run out of time, but looking at this, how does what you're doing as far as the mission continues, 5th Service Platoon, actually help and benefit your own family?
Oh, it's brought us very close together. I bring my family to everything we do. I have my mother-in-law, my wife, my 2 children come with me just to about every project. And when they come out, we're instilling that spirit of service in my children. My wife and I, we're bonding together. We get to do something together. The kids get to meet new people. They get that spirit of service. They get to go see other people with other kids. It gives us something to do.
That's absolutely fantastic. Last question, and we're running out of time. What do you see for the expansion of 5th Service Platoon, say, over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Oh, 5 to 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. That's a real good question that I haven't thought about. I can't give you a solid answer on that, but we're going to continue to work on food deserts.
We're going to plant that on food deserts. Okay, that's fantastic. Because in these communities, Ward 7 and 8, we really need that. And thank you. This is Quentin Coffett. He goes by the nickname of Q, platoon leader for the 5th Service Platoon. The mission continues, former U.S. Marine, as we create the Emerald Planet. Sunday, we'll get it the next one.
Everyone.
We'll get it.
Hey! What happened? What is it?
Turn here. There. Excuse me.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
I dare you to change the world. Yeah, you. Getting that college education. I dare you to be somebody important. Like be a teacher or a reality TV star.
I dare you to stand up here.
To call the shots.
To be a role model.
An inspiration. An innovator.
To be a teacher.
Think you can change my life? Make me excited about science like you?
Have a career that really means something?
Then do it.
I dare you.
They say you don't have to be so strong, but this is my mother, my purpose. Strength is not optional. See, I lift her now like she raised me then, so I know my strength is super, but I'm still human.
Oh, look who's here.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Thank you for being with us. I'm Dr. Sam Hancock, President, Executive Director of EmeraldPlanet, EmeraldPlanet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis as we look around the globe for what we call the best of the best practices that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And what we're looking for really are the solutions to a number of problems and issues that we face on a day-to-day basis, because the planet's going from 7+ billion to 9 billion people by 2050, possibly 12 to 13 billion by the end of the century. And so many people saying we have way too many people on the planet, we can't take care of them. But guess what? They're going to be here anyway. So how do we plan and take care of and actually increase the quality of life these people are going to live? And have a gentleman sitting right beside me, Quentin Coffett. He goes by Q. He's a platoon leader for the 5th Service Platoon of the Mission Continues, former member of the United States Marine Corps. And thank you for your service to the nation and to the people, Q. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. Tell us a little bit about why a nonprofit such as the Mission Continues is being so important in communities all across the United States. It started with just a few people. Now it's almost just blossomed, mushroom, till you got over 80 of these platoons all over the country. And the numbers are growing almost on a month-to-month basis. Why?
Why are they growing? Wow. So I want to say this is a fantastic organization. I can tell you why I continue to come back.
Okay, well then you're here with me, so go ahead.
I mean, these, it gives you a purpose. It's something that if you find yourself waning in that, you can get into your communities and you can help make a high impact difference. You know, the problems that are there, that the communities, they have needs that they need to address, whether it be food, whether it be youth development, whether it's education or whatnot. They have these needs that we come in and we try to find ways to solve that. And I mean, if you want to ask why that's important, then I mean, why are we here?
No, that's a very good question, because the whole thing is why is it important? And then why would people who have been in the U.S. military across all 5 branches of the U.S. military, they come out and it seems like within, in most cases, a short period of time, they're actually in something like the service, you know, the Mission Continues, and it's just like, you know, they're right back into the brother and the sisterhood all over again. What is it about it that is almost like a magnet that draws people like that back into their communities?
Well, you know, you want to connect with the communities. You want to be on that level with you want to feel like what you're doing matters. And so if you're going day to day, and you, again, like I said earlier, if you find that waning, I mean, you find these organizations that are out there, and you just try to find out what they're all about. You define what it is that you want to leave, the legacy it is that you want to leave, and the impact that you want to have. And a lot of us, we go from, you know, the military, where you have your mission defined for you, and you have the operations and whatnot that you're working towards, kind of handed to you. Maybe one of the solutions to get comfortable to come back to that is to find a veterans organization or something that has a mission in the community that we can ride on the coattails of, and eventually, hopefully, come in and make our own impact.
Now, looking at this impact, I know that the collaboration is with local governments, other NGOs, non-governmental organizations, communities of faith, of course, whatever that mix may be. educational institutions, public schools, public charter schools, even private schools. So you have this whole mix in the community, and yet you have this, in essence, a military group that's coming in, and we're gonna volunteer. So when you have all these other organizations working in these same communities, what is it that you're adding that's special and different? And I know that you are, because I know about your organization, but in your mind and how you would translate it to the public, how does this military group come in and actually does provide something that's unique and special and different to enhance what needs to be done in the community?
I don't want to say that the community organizations that are already there aren't passionate, but that's what we bring. We bring passion. Mm-hmm. We bring drive, motivation. Mm-hmm. We're passionate about each other. We're passionate about helping the community and whatnot. So when we come in, we see these projects and they're personal to us. Mm-hmm. Even though we may or may not live in that exact community, mm-hmm. the focus of what we're doing is personal. Mm-hmm. And so we work to achieve it. And then a lot of it too is coming together with these organizations and these people. We're passionate about making those connections and finding and getting people and rallying them around the causes that need addressed.
Yeah, you know, this is one of the things I find very unique, and when you look at a sports team, you have the same kind of psychology and philosophy in that, is that people will go out and in the rain, they'll go in the snow and the sleet. I played, you know, soccer in college and semi-pro soccer, and, you know, it's snowing, it's cold, you kick the ball and it comes up literally and smacks you in the face. It's blowing so hard. And yet you still do it because you know the other 10 members of the team are going to be out there if you're not there or not. So you don't dare not show up. So looking at this enthusiasm and the spirit that you're talking about, how do you infuse that into the community? And many of these are at-risk communities. How is that somehow different than what the others are doing? And you talked about some of that, you know. They have a mission, it's the government, we're going to deliver the services, but yet you're there and you're having an impact.
Well, our hopes is that, you know, like Oscar said earlier in the program, that we try to engage the community members directly in the projects with what we're doing. We try to ask them what they need and then try to get them on site during the projects themselves. That way they can be involved, they can own the projects and whatnot. And the people that are in the communities that maybe weren't involved in the planning process or involved in getting the need done, if they're there and they see the work being done and they see the impact we make and the change that we make, we're hoping that they'll continue with what we've started. Because I mean, we can't come in, you know, every year to do maintenance on these things. Yeah. We're trying to plant seeds and get people working on their own communities.
Get them to buy into what's really needs to be done. Looking at that whole thing as far as long-term change, we talk about resiliency. In other words, this thing to be ongoing, sustainability, kind of like that, but also to build it in so that the resources are going to come from within the community or the organization itself. And then, of course, the long-term impact that you're having out there. So when you're planning these things, now that you're a platoon leader, you have to start thinking about all this. How do you plan in the resiliency, the sustainability, the long-term nature of it, but also quality? This is a new term that's coming back into vogue, quality, as far as these projects. How do you mold all that in there and then just go do something?
Well, so it comes with meeting with the community leaders to ask them what they need and what impacts are there. Because we can come in and we can pick up trash. We can do that every year and to no effect. Mm-hmm. So to get the quality and to get the impact and planning these things out, we have to go and we have to talk to the people. Then you have to consider, you know, what's going to happen with the work that I'm doing. Is it long term? If I build this fence, is this fence going to get knocked down? If I build these benches, are people going to use them? Mm-hmm. You can't just walk in, do something for people and expect them to use it just because it's there. And
so it's not the concept, build it and they will come. The fact is the concept of they need to be involved in this to build what it is that they really want, and they will come. Is that how you're looking at it, Q?
That's exactly how I look at it,
mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, in this planning process, I know that you have an overall coordinator, executive director that works for Mission Continues, and then it comes down to the various platoons that you have. So you have 5 of those in Washington, D.C. area. And then, so how does the community get involved in this process? So this is building up, and this is actually Jacob from Manassas is wanting to have this answer as how this whole thing fits together. How does it come up from the community, go into the mission continues, but actually comes from the organization itself? And that's what Jacob would like to know. How does this fit together?
Man, I wish I could give you a play-by-play on how that works. The way it's worked for me is that we reach out to the community. We identify the leaders, we go to them, and we ask them when we talk to them, we identify them that way. We have a community impact manager, Connor Mallon. He sits here in the DC office. That's, as far as I understand, that's his job, is to figure out, how we can have the best impact. We have a great staff here in DC that do all of that. But I mean, as far from my level, what I've seen, we identify leaders within the community. We go out, we find them, and we ask them what they need.
That's fantastic. Looking at this, I want to stay with this for a little bit. There's every kind of talent known to humankind that's coming out of the military, going back into these communities, again, through the mission continues. So what are some of the skill sets that you're seeing that people actually bring to this on a week-to-week basis in these projects that may be new and different that we would not think of? You think of military, okay, we got people are doing bombing runs, we got people that take care of tanks and, steer ships and do all those things. But here you have somebody that's actually an artist.
Right.
And doing a daggone good job at it. So what are some of the unique things that the mission continues and the platoons that just kind of come, self-discovery, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, I was an artillery scout for the Marine Corps, and I've never once called in an artillery strike. So that's exactly, so it's, yeah, you get a lot of artists out here. You see a lot of that, and it goes back to that passion. People know what they have, and they know the skills they have to bring. They can come in, they can do communications for us. They can be community outreach for us, and we have a lot of people that have experience with building and whatnot. So we're always looking for people that can do that, and we can get creative. And we oftentimes we build our leadership teams based on what skills they have. And what they have to build. And so it's unique. Again, like the artists, you don't expect to see a lot of that, but we have some fantastic creativity that goes on within our platoons.
Yeah, I mean, and then the work you're doing as far as helping the children, like with the backpacks, and I mean, it's just incredible. We've just run out of time, Q. Thank you for being with us. But tell us, what do you see for the expansion of not only the 5th Service Platoon, but the mission continues here in Washington, D.C., but all around the United States?
So I foresee a lot of joint operations and mutual support between other veteran service organizations, and I see us growing that way.
Q, thank you for being with us. I really appreciate it. This is Quentin Coffett, goes by Q, platoon leader for the 5th Service Platoon. The mission continues, former United States Marine. And thank you, viewers, for being with us as we look how the American military goes way beyond the service that people have into the communities, helping others as we create the Emerald Planet.